Hello, welcome back, and thank you so much for joining me again, or if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. Today's video might challenge some of the programming that's been running within you. I know when I was writing this script, so many things came up for me and so many things clicked. But what we're talking about is something that often gets confused for love, compassion, or just being a good person. But what if trying to heal someone who never asked for it is actually a subtle form of control? Let's get into it. What if it is actually inherently selfish? Not in like the loud, aggressive way we think of selfishness, but in that sneaky little devious, emotionally entangled, identity-based way that many of us were conditioned to operate in. Let's unpack this. Many of us were raised in environments where love was earned, where being useful, emotionally available, or constantly attuned to someone else's pain was the only way to feel connection and love. What did we learn in those environments? That our purpose, our value, was tied to what we could do for others. We became the listener, the therapist, the caretaker, the energetic sponge. And that programming doesn't just disappear, it shows up in how we relate to people we care about. It becomes so entrenched in the brain that becomes our full identity. And I saw this in myself. I lived in this for so long. I had this moment, actually, several, where I realized that I was so hyper fixated on my mom and my sister changing. I didn't want them in any more emotional pain, repeating the same stories, not choosing the same patterns, mostly because I genuinely thought I saw their potential. I knew life could be better and feel better for them. But one day, I had to ask myself, who gave me the authority to decide what their life should look like? Because what I was really doing was projecting my discomfort with their pain and trying to fix it so that I wouldn't have to feel it rather, and deal with it anymore. I was sick of dealing with the same situations over and over again. And I'll be honest, there was so much time when I held so much resentment towards people who came to me with all of their problems. I had spent years being the emotional space holder, the one everyone turned to for support, and I was exhausted. I was burnt out on coaching and holding space for others. At first, it gave me a sense of purpose when I was super unconscious to it. It made me feel really needed. It made me feel useful. I had such a sense of purpose in that. I felt really loved in a way. But when I finally woke up to how destructive it felt to me, how heavy, how one-sided, I realized I hadn't actually healed that part of myself. Instead of compassion, I started feeling bitterness, frustration, and even rage. I felt like I was getting taken advantage of constantly. And I realized it wasn't about them. It was my inner child crying out, resentful that she had to hold everyone else's weight her entire life. And because I hadn't tended to her, I couldn't tolerate anyone else's emotional overflow because I had such little bandwidth. And I had such little bandwidth because I wasn't pouring into myself and filling up my own cup. Now, that doesn't mean that we should make other people's problems our problems as long as we're pouring into ourselves. But what it does mean is when people come to you, you won't take that energy on and identify with it. And it won't have such an emotional charge around it for you anymore. You'll actually be able to hold space from a neutral standpoint because there's no emotional charge with that resentment that you've been holding since you were young. I just wanted them to stop or change, but really, I was the one that needed tending to. And that's really not love. That's control wrapped in a bow that looks like compassion. It's actually manipulation. And I say manipulation because if we are trying to get someone else to do something because it appeases a part of us and makes us feel safe, we're trying to get them to do something, to change something about themselves, to create safety within ourselves, then that is manipulation. And here's where we get even deeper. Trying to heal someone without consent isn't just control. It's also selfish in a more subtle, identity-based way. We're not just offering them support, we're forcing our sense of purpose and duty onto them. We're saying, I need you to change so that I can feel regulated, useful, and fulfilled. Their problem becomes our emotional workload, and half the time they never asked for that. They really just wanted to be heard, and they wanted to be tended to from a neutral ground, but we took it upon ourselves to assign meaning to it, to make it ours, to help them become better people, to help them rise above the mess and the noise. And now we're over-identified with their pain, their patterns, and their potential. It's not about them anymore. It's about us and what we can do for them. So let's go even further. What we call helping is often just us reacting to our own triggers. Their resistance to change, their emotional stuckness, their victimhood, that activates something within us. And if we weren't triggered by it, we'd be able to sit with it from a place of neutrality. But we can't because our nervous system sees it as unsafe, unresolved. It's kind of mind-blowing to think about because anytime there's emotional charge, it's because there's residue from the past. We make their state our problem because our body can't handle being with it. Now we're not just trying to fix them, we're offloading our own unhealed pain onto them and calling it purpose. It's like emotional reverse mirroring. They want to stay stuck, we want them to evolve, but both of us are clinging to comfort zones and asking the other person to hold it. And here's the kicker. Maybe they don't want to change. Maybe they're okay with where they're at. Maybe they're happy with this version of themselves. Maybe they enjoy complaining. Maybe they're not wired to do the deep work. Because let's face it, not everyone who comes to this planet is. We have to make that okay. Because when we hold a vision for someone that they never asked for, we're basically telling them, you're not good enough as you are. This current version of you is not good enough for me. And whether we realize it or not, that's deeply invalidating and deeply insulting. So if you are someone that has people in your life that constantly complain, who repeat the same patterns, and you feel yourself spiraling into fix-it mode, here's what I like to do to protect my energy. 1, energetic prep. Before going into that kind of conversation with somebody that you know tends to be more of kind of an energy suck from your perspective, I like to seal my energy field. So I like to scan my aura and visualize a golden or white light plugging up any porous areas, especially around my solar plexus, in my energetic field. Because that's where I tend to absorb a lot of the emotional charge, is right in this area here. So during the conversation, I also breathe into any areas that contract my jaw, my stomach, my chest, and I silently repeat to myself, usually in my head, of course, this is not mine. I will not carry this. Release what is not mine. Put my feet on the ground, allow myself to feel the earth, and it keeps me grounded in my body so I'm not absorbing their pain into my own field. And after the conversation, you can just move or shake. I love to just put on fun music and just dance because music really does change the energy of what is, what you're taking in. And I like to vocalize and shake out the tension. It may look silly, but silly is sacred when it comes to transmuting heaviness, because what's heavy in your body needs a frequency change, and play does that beautifully. But not only that, moving through it just allows it to lift naturally, and you don't feel that heavy residue in your body anymore. So next time you feel the urge to fix someone, pause and ask yourself, Am I offering help, or am I trying to control the outcome to make myself feel safe and comfortable? Am I being triggered and making this my responsibility? Am I forcing my sense of duty onto somebody who didn't consent to it? Love does not require transformation. It requires presence. I mean, think about it. Would you like it if somebody was constantly, every time you were coming to them with something, would you like it if they constantly tried to get you to change and fix that part of yourself? You'd feel inadequate, wouldn't you? So just sit with that. If this video resonated, drop a comment below, and I'd love to hear your take. Did you have any mind-blowing moments that you didn't think about before but now kind of gave you pause? And if you want to build a deeper relationship with your own energy, check out my 3-month workbook. I have links in the description. It teaches you how to understand your own energy, how to fill your own cup up, how to know what is yours. That way when you go into conversations, you'll be able to basically pick up on what's yours and what's theirs, and it'll give you practices essentially with how to come back into yourself. When you've gone through the workbook course, it's self-guided, it will essentially, you'll be able to kind of develop your own practices, especially with the Sacred Support Guide, which is kind of like a support manual that you can get in addition to the My Body, My Altar workbook. That's the 3-month. But they give you practices to come back to your own energy and learn how to alchemize and move into different energies to basically build energy within yourself of things that you want to magnetize and attract to you, but also that you want to change within yourself. Whenever we are begging for somebody else to change, it's because there's something within us that needs to shift. So this is a perfect practice to be able to do that. And if you have any questions or need extra support in any way, please do comment below. I am happy to address and answer any questions, concerns, comments. And thank you again for giving me your time and energy and attention to this video. It does not go unnoticed that you are choosing to be here with me and absorb this information. So thank you again, and stay tuned for the next video. I have some juicy topics coming your way. Thank you.